I'm Alistair Kinley, Director of Policy and Government Affairs at BLM, and I'm joined by David Hertzell, a consultant here, former Law Commissioner, who steered the Insurance Law Reform Programme through the Commission and was instrumental in leading the bill through its special committee stage in the House of Lords late 2014. David, the Insurance Act 2015 is the first major statutory change to business insurance law for around 100 years. Yeah. Comes in on 12th of August 2016.
Yes.
Still over a year away. What are you picking up from the market about a level of awareness and preparedness for this big change?
I think it varied on different parts of the market, actually, Alistair. The larger insurers and the larger brokers and some larger policyholders are fairly well prepared, or at least beginning to think about becoming prepared for this major change. I think once you move out into the SME sector, probably people are less prepared, and that's particularly true, I think, of policyholders.
David, the Act really makes sort of three main changes. First, to the arrangements around placement of insurance and the knowledge of the parties.
Yes.
Second, to the strict compliance with warranties. And third is this new approach to proportionate remedies when things go wrong. Just thinking of the first of those, the placement of insurance and the knowledge requirements on both sides, what are the areas that you think might be of greatest concern at the moment?
Yes, that's an interesting point, actually, Alistair. I think that the provisions in the Act are actually not a million miles distant from the current law, very close in some respects to that. And that is the area which seems to be provoking the most discussion in the market currently. Particular concerns actually around the reasonable search obligations of the policyholder. At the bottom, at the root of the Act, is that it's effectively a bargain in that in return for more proportionate remedies, if things go wrong, there are now clearly stated obligations on policyholders to provide underwriters with accurate and comprehensive information. And the processes by which the policyholders go about doing that and about the way the brokers become involved in that process is creating quite a lot of thought and discussion in the market. I think it may be that for the first time, the processes are on trial rather than individual bits and pieces of information, and processes take quite a long time to change.
Does that differ, going back to your first question, does that differ in the corporate area and the SME area?
I think it does. I think you're seeing in the larger insured area greater level of preparedness by risk managers and other purchase of insurance, and perhaps more investment in those clients by brokers. In the SME area, where time is short and margins are tight, I think you are seeing some difficulty really in coming to terms with quite what has to be done and by whom.
David, we talked about some insurers adopting the provisions of the Act earlier than required, with the implementation date of 12th August 2016 being obligatory. As I say, some are going earlier. You've been at recent broker and purchaser conferences, EMIC and BIBA, in the last few weeks. What's your impression of the levels of awareness and preparedness there in comparison to that amongst the main insurers?
I think it varies. It was interesting at both conferences. Most of the questions we were asked tended to focus on the placement process, not on the remedies or the changes to warranties, which by and large the market seems to have got fairly well prepared. Both sides of the market got fairly well prepared. There were concerns about how the placement process could be dealt with, both by insurers and by policyholders. Again, I think because processes are under review this time rather than just disclosure information. I think brokers tended to have understanding that they may have a greater role in the placement process than perhaps they have previously. Policyholders were concerned that they would comply with a reasonable search and felt that they may need to take quite a few more steps about doing it, particularly involving the board in the process. And insurers were concerned about the internal transmission of information between their various bits, various departments, and their various different branches, again, quite rightly so. So it's a year away, there is time to get this right, but the sooner one starts, the happier the outcome will be, I think.
So I think really just to summarise our conversations, David, we're about a year away from a major change.
Yes.
The insurance provider community is looking closely at its processes in order to be ready for that, and some are quite well advanced on that. I think your perspective was that the broker and policyholder community need to scrutinise their processes, the way they share information, how they communicate that information, so that everybody's ready in good time to make the most of what really is a change that's been championed by all sides of the market.
Yes, I think that's absolutely right. A year is not that long if you have to start changing your internal processes.
Okay, well, thanks very much.
You're welcome.